Greetings, Algo artisans. I am recording this 12 minutes before the peak of the eclipse, the solar eclipse in my area. Will Bitcoin eclipse its all-time high today as well? We're going to talk about that in the charts right now. Okay, so here we are looking at Bitcoin, and we're looking at a range that is developed, and it is a bit of a messy range. There are a couple of ways to look at this, right? A little bit tighter based on these bounces and considering these two to be deviations from the range. However, it could also be looked at as such, right? So either way, we've got a range from the low 60s, basically say 62, 63,000, up until roughly say 72,000. And the question is whether or not Bitcoin will rise above. So let's go back to some of the data from prior videos here. We did see basically a symmetrical triangle being built, and this was as of the last video I did on Bitcoin. And here it is already having been broken. I'm not very big on trading symmetrical triangles. When I test them, they're about 50-50 up or down, and it usually has to do with the higher time frame bias. And in this case, that bias is bullish, so that is what we're looking at here as the breakout is to the top here. However, in order for me to be confident that Bitcoin is going to continue up, I want to see it break this range, and really I want to see it break the all-time high. We do have this range, and it does appear to be really charging the top of the range, but that all-time high is a psychological and a structural very important moment. Let's talk a little bit about the price in relation to the halving. We did see, as I've been talking about pretty much every day I talk about Bitcoin, I mentioned that we have seen a 17.5% correction pullback prior to the halving, and according to the way I measure things, the average is about 20 to 30% in what I think are relevant pullbacks before the halving. So more or less, this halving pullback narrative could be satisfied, right? Not to say it won't pull back before the halving again. It could easily happen. Even a pullback from the current height down to the bottom of this range would be significant. However, it does look to me like price is ready to break out, and we're going to have a couple of ways of knowing that might happen. Of course, the primary way of seeing the breakout, aside from the obvious, might look something like this, where price continues to consolidate below this high, or even below the all-time high. In any way like that, that's an indication that we might see a breakout, right? Price is pushing up against that high there, and the bears can't push it too far below. The bulls keep catching it and pushing like that, and that's an indication that price could pop up. And the more that price tests that high, the weaker that high tends to get. That's usually the way things work. So what am I expecting right now? The algos are bullish, so I would say there's probably going to be a breakout. Now, whenever price is able to beat that all-time high, whether that's today, next week, or after the halving, my next two targets for trading are going to be at 80,000 and 88,000. Okay, these are based on Fibonacci extensions that I've done before in prior classes, but I will do again right now, and I'm going to treat this as one major impulse upwards. This strong move from 50,850 all the way up to the all-time high. That's how I'm looking at that. On a higher time frame, this will look like one single impulse up, and those are simply the fib extensions. And when you're talking about price discovery, when you're looking at price going to areas it has never been before, there are some other tools, but fib extensions are the way I prefer to trade. They test well, consistent, and those are those targets. So how would I trade this? Well, I probably would look for price to break above that all-time high. If it did, let's just say it looked like this, and then price probably, there's a good chance it'll pull back beforehand, although it may not. Bitcoin does have a habit of not pulling back, but if it did, even if it were on a lower time frame and not visible on this chart, I would look to buy in roughly at that all-time high, or perhaps just above that. Or if my algo said go ahead and hop in, I would just hop in, and I would look for targets again at 80,000 and perhaps 88,000. And I do think price may take a little bit of a break at 88,000. However, if the bull market takes off, Bitcoin is known for just FOMOing at points like Bitcoin can grab hold of the bulls, and the bulls will grab hold of Bitcoin, and you'll just see madness happening. So, and that's always a lot of fun, right? Now, if this happens extremely violently, we actually could see some altcoins get dragged down a little bit, if not in terms of the dollar or tether, in terms of Bitcoin. So if you are trading, beware of those kind of things. Any violent move in Bitcoin can pull money from the alts because people are going to want to go into Bitcoin. So, the traders mostly. So that's Bitcoin. That's how I see it happening most likely. Again, a lot of things could happen. What could happen happen is that there's a pullback after this new high. The market may want to take profit in this area. If in fact it is 80,000, it could be lower. It might be a different number, but we could see a pretty strong pullback after that happens as well. New all-time high. Lots of people are going to maybe panic profit, if you will, or perhaps profit taking causes a strong move down and more people start taking profit because they want to lock in those gains. So a lot of things can happen. This is the basic levels at any rate that I'm looking at. Let's take a look at the liquidity levels, right, for Bitcoin before we jump to Ethereum. So over here on the Kingfisher.io, we do have a lot of liquidity sitting roughly at 68,600K. So let's go ahead and put a line at 68,640, just so we know that liquidity is there, and the if the charts call for a move down, price could easily make its way down to here, right? Just to grab that liquidity before it goes up. So be aware that can easily happen. If this is not able to break above, then we might see price grab this down here. That would be a nice area to look at, maybe going long, or at least maybe a short target. Again, not investment advice. Do your own research. Okay, Ethereum is seeing some strength. As you can see, I predicted this move. So this is Cowboys predictions. I believe this was just on Friday that I predicted this. So you can see my work in action right here. I predicted this move literally. I just got to show that off. Anybody who watched my videos on Friday would be able to see, proven that this happened. Good. So what's going to happen next? Well, I could tell you the algos are bullish, but again, this is going to be dependent on Bitcoin being bullish as well. So if Bitcoin retraces, Ethereum will retrace, so on and so forth. But what I do find interesting is that Ethereum is actually holding at the top here, right? So you do have these three prior peaks at the top of this range, and price is at the top of the range right now. So a lot of range traders would be interested in going short right here. Not a bad idea as long as the rest of your formula adds up to a short. And I can tell you that the algos are pretty bullish, but this is a nice bullish candle that could get knocked down. I think there is a fair amount of money flowing into ETH that might not otherwise be doing so because the Solana network is having some issues, and it appears that a little bit of confidence is being lost in Solana right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at Solana after we take a look at Ethereum. But again, if Ethereum breaks out, I'm just going to look at the all-time high, right? I'm going to look at the all-time high as where price could go next, and there is a decent bit of price action to where we could consider this a little bit of a range from here to here. Price might enter that range and play in that general area before it goes up to test 4,000. So we'll take a look at Solana before we go here. Yes, Solana seems to be slowing down. You can see some areas that I marked out, areas of liquidity where price might go, and Bitcoin's doing great, but Solana is kind of slowing down. And again, there seems to be a little bit of a narrative regarding Solana's chain. There's a lot of people who don't like Solana's chain right now because it's sometimes breaking down. There's some outages, and is Solana everything we thought it would be? I would like to think that they could get it fixed. I know that Solana fixes generally happen in minutes or hours, while Ethereum fixes happen in years. So I think that they will figure this out. That's my guess. There's a lot of money behind Solana, a lot of accounts of smart money like Solana. I'm going to have a conversation, find out if the smart money is concerned about these issues, and I'm probably going to share that with the private group. I don't know that I'll talk about that here, but I will say that the algos are weekly bullish. Weekly, WEAKLY. So price should continue up, but we're going to see. We're going to see with these kind of issues with Solana, this is lackluster compared to other chains. So I think that's all we have time for today. So if there's anything you want to see, go ahead, ask in the comments on YouTube. If there's a chart you want to see, I do gold, I do Forex, I do metals, I do oil, I'll chart whatever you want. None of it's investment advice. It's all for educational purposes, but please do that. If you want to learn how I do this, come on over to algofactory.tech, where we teach people how to develop their own unique trading method, and that can help them pull money out of the market if they are able to develop a successful method. So please come on over to algofactory.tech. We'd love to show you what we're doing over there. And remember, trade your job, upgrade your life. See you on the next one.